Hello YouTube. Today we're going to repair this AC adapter which goes to a Compaq LTE Lite series laptop, which I have one right behind the AC adapter. You may or may not see my previous video on getting one of these laptops to simply turn on. Now we have an AC adapter that doesn't turn on at all. It's very simple to troubleshoot. If you plug it in, if you do not get the green lights, it's not going to power on the computer. So I'll show you a working AC adapter. I believe this is the one that I did repair. And you get the light. So before we do that, I will get into what components we need to make this a successful repair. Once you get inside the LTE Lite AC adapter, there will be 5 capacitors, 4 different kinds. The first one you'll need will be a 400 volt 100 UF. There you go. And then you will need 135 volt 68 UF. That's kind of hard to see in the camera. Don't know why it's not focusing. And I'll put all this down in the comments and the description, of course. And then there is one 10 UF 50 volt. I had it for a second. And then you will need 2 of these 470 UF 25 volt. Now, before you go on going out and buying capacitors, there are a lot of them out there. Your best bet would be Nichicon or Rubycon caps. You can also do Panasonic as well. They make quality caps. In fact, this gold one is a Panasonic. If you live in the US like me and you are absolutely bent on going with American-made parts, there are a couple companies that do make quality parts. Illinois Capacitors is one. I don't remember the other one at the second here. But anyway, if I do think of it, I'll put it in the comments. So we will now go into the disassembly of this thing, which is no small picnic. So first thing you got to do is remove these 4 rubber feet. May even only have to remove 2 feet. It's be these 2 right here, actually. Let's go ahead and do that. A little reckless with that one, but fortunately it is coming off in one piece. Now, next thing you got to do is get your T10 torx bit. Get the T10 and get those 2 screws off. Next thing we got to do, much like the laptops themselves, they're snapped together pretty well, so just have to go along the edges with a flat-headed screwdriver or prying tool and find a spot that cracks open and then work from there. It will take a little bit to do. I finally found an edge, so just keep working along the sides and you'll eventually get that cover off. Yeah, this one has a warranty sticker on it. That's a good one. Pretty safe to say that warranty expired long ago. And now the cover is off. The next thing you want to do, peel this tape over carefully. And now you have the guts. But of course you got to take those out. It looks like there are 2 screws. One there. And one right there. There may be others that I don't immediately see, but you are dealing with a power supply, so you do want to exercise a little caution. See if, let's just get this board out and let's see what we got to do next. It would be helpful to find the right size bit, which may take a little bit of trial and error. It's definitely bigger than a 6. And it looks like it's a T8. It seemed like it was loose. Look at that guy out. Get this one right here. That one was definitely tighter. Let's see if the guts will pull out, which it looks like they will not. I'm not trying hard enough, I'm not sure. Sugar out all the way. Oh yes, so if you can see in the corner here, I'll try to point to it with a screwdriver. There's a white little tab here. You'll gently take your flathead and try to move that out of the way. Easier said than done. And you can kind of see it now. There's also one on the opposite side in this corner as well. Oh, I see it. Yes, there's actually, if you pull back on this, the red and black cables, if that was going to be fun to get to, but there is actually a 3rd screw underneath there. You will need to get that out. Apologize, it's been a long time since I tore one of these apart. And it comes right out. As you can see, now that I have it out, that's where basically the 3 screws would go. But this repair gets more interesting as we go along. Obviously, here's the big cap. Cap number 2 is right there. And the other 3 are in this general area. So the next thing we gotta do is get those heat sinks off. Or at least, at minimum, get this one off. I've had good experiences getting them off with the needle nose. There is no screw on this side, it's just a flat, smooth surface. Once you have that, get those washers off first. There are two washers. And yeah, this is not going to be fun no matter what way we do this. It looks like on this one, this heat sink may be soldered into the board. If we're lucky, we can pop that off. So it looks like it's just a plastic tab holding this one on. Very hard to see, but let's see if we can pop that off. And now it is off. There's the metal piece right there that it was, looks like it was pressed into there. Anywho, so now you can get to those caps. The other 2, I think you can get away with keeping this heat sink on. Looks like there's enough room, it'll probably pop out once we desolder it. So, nothing is what it seems so far, but in theory, the good news is we're pretty much at the rudimentary soldering parts of the video. For those that have never soldered capacitors before, there are polarities on them. Do pay attention. You may want to take a picture with your phone if you're not sure. And just make sure you get the polarity right before you pull them out. So, we will start desoldering. Okay, so now we got all those caps soldered in. You'll notice I decided to skip the process of taking you through the actual soldering process. If that's something you do not aren't overly familiar with, there's thousands and thousands of tutorials on how to solder things on YouTube. But anywho, let's start the process of putting this thing back together. First thing is first is the heat sink. That's going to be probably just go do the best you can, considering we have this piece to worry about. Try to line it up the best you can. Make sure you line up this hole right there. Get that done, that's half your battle. Probably could straighten this piece out with my needle nose, which that's exactly what I'm gonna try next. It's relatively close, so I'm sure there's probably a rhyme or reason behind the logic of the design. Put the two washers back in. Personally find that the needle nose does a great deal in getting these components back together. All right, we got that nut back in, and once you get that nut fully adjusted, you can see that I got that metal bracket that was holding the other side of the heatsink in slightly better. So our next thing to do is to carefully put this back together. I'm not going to put all the screws back in just yet. General rule of thumb of IT, if you put something back together all the way, it's not going to work. Do keep in mind there are two snaps in the corners here and here and by the big cap. It looks that went in with little resistance. And tuck this in. Save you a little work later. Just in case we get a smoke test. We'll put the cover on. All right, so we got that back together. In case we get smoke. Do this. This way. And survey says, look at there, we got a green light. And if you really want to take the next test here, dig out your Compaq LTE Lite, see if it actually turns it on. Move some of this crap out of the way before I do that. And yes, if you did watch my last video, this is the same identical Compaq that we tore apart the last time. Just haven't had a chance to put it back together yet. And we have power. It's not a bad idea to leave these on for a few hours to make sure that the capacitors themselves were good. And with electronics, sometimes they last for only a little bit, and a couple minutes. Sometimes they get you in trouble. Hate to see you put in all that work only to find out, oh, it's no good. And don't worry, this particular hard drive, unlike the last one, is G-rated. There's nothing of any interest on it. Just gonna shut this off for the time being. Now that you know that your AC adapter is good, you can go ahead and unplug it. You put those 3 screws back in. Do use caution around this, now that this thing actually has powered, you know for sure that it's been powered on recently, so if you're not careful, you will regret it. You will get quite a shocking experience out of it. And then, oh yeah, this one's gonna be fun. I remember this one now. I don't want to cooperate. Really annoyed me. Oh, interesting. Stuck on the side. Imagine that. Try that again. So a little, may be recommended to invest in a magnetic torx bit. The one I'm using is most certainly not, and just adding more fun to getting this thing back together. And the last one is by the big capacitor, so I'd be real careful with that one. You just never know. Of course. I did not. I don't think they wanted us tearing this apart. These are not easy to get to. And we got it started. This one might have been worse than the last one to get to. But it is now screwed in. Now if this does slip out, just tuck it in. You see the groove there. Actually, if you can look real close, it's actually got a Compaq part number on it, believe it or not. Next thing you want to do, put this tab in first. Tape this over, and all you got to do is put the cover back on. This part will go where the LED is. It's typically right next to this power cord. And in theory, it's just supposed to snap right together. And this one is not lining up. There we go. There you go. Last thing you got to do is put the 2 screws back in. Alright, those. And if you want, you can put the rubber feet on them. Sometimes you're going to get one they're so disintegrated that they just basically fall apart. Like on the first one I showed you, those pretty much fell apart. But test it out one more time. Got green light. Up. And we got power. And just for fun, here's some of the old capacitors. Don't really see anything wrong with it, any of them, other than this one here looks like it's starting to fall apart at the bottom or bulge. And just takes one bad capacitor or one dried up capacitor. This one looks like it was close to the end of its life. Just takes one to ruin everything. Generally speaking, if you're having a hard time finding the big ones, I definitely did not have the easiest time doing it. You probably could get away with not replacing that one. Definitely do the littler ones, because there's always 1 or 2 of those that are either blowing or dried out or starting to bulge. But see, we have a laptop that powers up. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, look me up in the comments section and I will answer the questions to the best of my knowledge. Thank you for joining me on this video.